Uh, we got our call to order, got that under control. Our budget workshop. We're going to entertain the discussion of this budget amongst staff and council and see where we're at. We'll let you lead us in it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'll quickly just summarize the budget, touch on a few points. I've got 3 or 4 questions for council. And then after we get through that, then we'll start to use our workbooks, which are in front of you. So just would like to start by saying that the budget has been presented and transferred to council on May the 9th, 2024. It's a balanced budget. The tax rate is 17 cents total, which is the same as the current fiscal year. 1 cent equivalent is $229,000. That's rounded down. The recommended 25 budget capital investment is $1,092,000. The operating side is $6,444,255, and the total is $7,536,255. On the HR side, this budget is basically supports 12 full-time employees and 3 part-time. As far as succession planning goes relative to employees, we are looking to bring in a deputy tax collector, which means we would take someone who is part-time to full-time who's already on staff. That training is underway. For finance, there would be a finance director recruited and hired the last quarter of 25. We'll talk more about these positions a little later. Looking to bring some leadership in the field in Parks and Rec. There would be a crew leader position that would be a reclassification. So that's not a new position for Parks and Rec, but rather a reclassification. And also in HR, this budget supports outsourcing HR services to some degree. And so we can talk some more about that when we get to administration. Just some of the decreases and increases in the recommended 25 budget compared to fiscal year 24. On the decrease side, there's a 17.6% decrease overall. Capital is a 65.3% decrease. We're seeing a decrease 5%. Fire, we've got a 7.29% decrease in administration, a 0.25 decrease planning and zoning, 2.39% decrease in information technology. On the increase side, there's a 7.1% increase in operations, a 16.6% increase in debt service, 4.19% police, 5.32% parks and rec, 8.67% streets and highways, 19.39% tax collections, 9.57% increase economic development, and a 9.59% increase in reserves. So we presented the budget, council. We sent council the line items and basically the budget message. And I think 4 questions I'd like to ask council to see if there's consensus over these questions would be question number 1, based on council's review of the recommended fiscal year 25 budget, does the mayor or council member see any glaring deficiencies with the budget overall, just in general?
I do not. Any of the other council members?
I didn't.
Okay. All right.
Question number 2, how flexible are members on raising the tax rate from 17 cents if needed or necessary as we work through this budget?
I don't see a need to raise it.
I don't think we're going to have to raise it this year with what I'm seeing before it's been presented personally, but looking over it, I don't see a reason to raise it right yet.
All right. Are you okay with staff tonight covering the major departments and allowing us to gloss over some of the other departments like police and fire?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
those are what they are and they're locked in. And last, do you have any burning questions based on your preliminary review of the recommended 25 budget up to this point?
No.
All right, so now we'll shift and we'll use our workbooks. And basically, we'll start with administration, which is page 6. I think probably the first question I would pose, and I would ask Finance Director Powell to weigh in on this as well, but outsourcing, we'd like to try to get some sense from council about outsourcing. Finance Director Powell, do you have a specific question you'd like to pose?
He specifically means outsourcing human resource,
HR,
HR.
yes.
And what we are proposing would be to outsource, basically it'd be, hang on, I have notes. Do this in an easy way. Help with hiring and termination processing, recruitment. We would, a supervisor would have a job description. A company would help us write the ad, send it out, accept the applications, narrow them down, weed out all the unqualified, and then it would go to the supervisor, and that person would choose who to interview and would conduct any interviews. Then we go back to this company. They would help with hiring and firing, hiring and termination paperwork, day-to-day payroll operations, actually running our payroll, but on our software, we would give very limited access, and so that we would have control over all of the records. They would help with signing up and canceling employee benefits, help with benefits negotiations if a new town manager wanted that assistance, would guide employees through the retirement process. What am I forgetting, Kristen?
It's really just the administration sort of piece. If a piece of paper is involved in sort of process, that was consistent. The strategic side, we would keep more in-house.
Yeah. So if somebody needed to be disciplined, that still falls on our people taking care of that. If somebody needs to be, a decision need to be made on promotion, that still falls here in our building. This would just be all the paperwork. Right now it's amongst 3 or 4 employees. And so there's no real consistency.
So let me
Oh,
So let me weigh in on it just a little bit. So what's not being talked about or said is it's not a situation where staff delegates authority or discretion. All that is handled inside, and the town manager is the one that is basically in the saddle to do that. Town manager may work with a person on the inside that's designated as a HR liaison. But the manager would be making those kind of decisions in conjunction with department heads or any other applicable personnel that are involved in those decision making. The decision making still on the inside, but the processing of these types of things then would be handled by a firm on the outside.
and your proposed budget has 10,500 in it to hire a company like that. Based on 2 proposals I've gotten, that wouldn't quite be enough, but I do believe that there's plenty of room in our budget to cover that. But basically what I want to know from you tonight is, Are you even interested in pursuing this?
Let me ask you another question. Would those same people be the ones that could help sign employees up for insurance, their personal insurance and so on and so forth?
Absolutely.
Yes.
See, I definitely think stuff like that should be kept out of the office,
Mhm.
more private. And there's probably
Absolutely.
some other things that I'm not thinking about that probably needs to be more private.
And they would
And,
handle.
and I agree with you.
COBRA
even-
Termination, like COBRA paperwork and all that.
Well,
That's
even the
what
hiring
Mary's-
process, you know, it's not really fair for some of y'all to know some of the background stuff before these people get hired. It would be better if they come in with a clean slate, nobody knew anything. So I'm 100% for this idea, for sure.
Okay, great. Because yes, exactly what you're talking about
Yeah.
is exactly what we'd have them do. The only difference is that all of this paperwork that they would have, the plan is to have our IT people set up a special area on our server. So they can store all the hire paperwork on our server and we have the records.
Okay,
But it would be locked down with limited access.
sure. Okay.
Does your payroll services right now, that's not offered through them?
Right now, payroll services, I run payroll, whichever supervisor. Nicole is the one who does the most hiring and firing. Not firing, I'm sorry. She has the most turnover. So she starts the paperwork, brings it to me. I enter it all in the computer. I run the actual payroll, keep up with leave. When somebody's leaving, she gives me a personnel action form. I process that again through our software.
But just for an example, not only do I do it for the Parks Department, it tends to fall because I have done it the most times. So our last town manager hire, I did their background check, and that's not really
Exactly.
a
You
good
told me that.
situation.
That's
Background
right.
check.
So the payroll software does not offer that right now.
Oh, no, oh, no, no. Our current payroll software is a module of our financial accounting software. We are physically doing all the entry, and this would be outsourcing the entry.
And the outsourced person would be the one to take care of FMLA leave, sick days, and workers' comp and all that stuff.
It would, the approval for using those type of leaves would still fall on a supervisor and or the manager.
But they would do the paperwork.
They would do the paperwork.
Okay.
They will, do workers' comp as well.
Another major benefit is that they will actually liaise with the insurance company.
Yeah.
So whenever employees have questions or they're having trouble getting something through, this company will reach out directly to the company, the insurance company, and deal with that, and that keeps everyone's hands here.
And out of their medical business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just FYI, Kristen helped me come up with the RFP and evaluate the responses we got.
So what do you think this number's actually gonna be when it's all said and done?
If we went with my recommendation, the company I would recommend, we're looking at 18,230.
Okay. Was there a broad window with the ones that responded back?
I only had 2,
Okay,
and the next one up is 25,000.
Okay.
And would have to hire someone to do this day-to-day operational stuff, because it's not exactly what they're set up to do.
okay.
Like day to day, let's say one of your people misses a punch. Since you're hourly, right? So if they miss a punch now, do you put it in?
You're talking like if they're not,
For you to
They're
clock
not-
in.
so we don't have clocks. We still do everything by paper timesheets. So we have interesting pay periods. So we get paid twice a month. So my hourly guys, it's a little bit confusing. So they have to turn in their time cards to me on the 8th and the 22nd of every month. And so from that, I then go through their time card. I approve, check it against whatever leave. If they, said, oh, I'm going to be late one day, make sure everything matches up. I approve that. I have a spreadsheet that I go through and I put in that spreadsheet the number of regular hours they worked, the number of overtime hours they worked, the number of sick leave they took, and the number of vacation leave they took during that pay period. And then I take that and then I give that to Sue, and she puts that in the payroll system. And so then she would deduct that leave, she would deduct those things.
So this would at least eliminate you handing it to Sue. You'd still have to do that.
There would have to be, yeah, some tracking of leave. So whether we continue with the, the paper system that we have been doing, I would love to at some point go to an automated system where they can, again, get to their computer, clock in, can calculate leave for us. I think would be a great way in the long term. But yeah, at the minimum right now, I would still have to approve their time cards. And even if we did that electronically, it would still go to me for approval, that I would confirm, yes, that's what they actually worked. That was the leave they took. And then those folks would process that to make sure their pay and their leave balances effective.
In our current payroll system does have an additional piece to do this where we could log in on a computer, but it's an additional fee. And we have not found we were large enough to justify it yet.
Okay, that's what I was asking, like, are we paying essentially for overlap? But
No, we're not paying for it right now. And the way I understand this, we'll still fill out the paper timesheets, and one person will gather them, and they'll get scanned and sent to these people, and then they'll do the entry. They did have a software, if we chose to use theirs, where we could have logged in, but then they retain all of the records, and it's not going to integrate with our financial accounting software. So then they would send me amounts, and I'd have to make the entries. Yes. Good questions.
not all. That's exactly what we.
So, are we supporting this idea?
I think for the insurance and the benefits and the separation alone, I think that's worth that.
I support it.
Okay.
Okay, I have one further question. Would you want staff to go ahead and implement this once the budget's passed, or would you want to wait on the new manager?
I think as soon as the budget's passed, because the new manager would be the first person to fall under the new. job.
Excellent.
Right.
Thank you.
Throw out there, I do have a vacant position that.
Okay.
that-
Second person.
That'll be second.
All right. So I think I'm going to go down the administration line items and just try to hit a few highlights, just to explain some of the increases. I think one of the first increases, significant increases you see is going to be salaries and wages. That's the very first line item. And if you look to the third column from the right, that is the increase column. The column in the dark gray is the recommended budget. Okay, so if you look to the right of the gray column, dark gray column, that's the increase. That's basically a $33,000 increase, and that basically is derived from the pay study that you guys did, and the proposed salary for the new town manager. So that's what that increase is for. If you go down to fringe benefits, basically there's a 5% increase in insurance cost this year. So that goes a long way explaining that increase there. The accounting piece, which is 104120, 1991, you're seeing an increase in audit cost. That's why that line item went up. For the 104120, 1999, that's the other professional services that went up by 78. There is $50,000 in that line item for the strategic plan, and also the cost for developmental associates is programmed into that line item as well. The next is the miscellaneous, which is the 104120, 2099. And if you look at the increase, or what is actually recommended What's recommended is more in line with what you had in 21, 22, and 23 actuals. So that's a reflection of what you had prior years. It took a significant dip in fiscal year 24 as far as what was budgeted. But based on 21, 22, and 23 actuals, that's where that increase is coming from. Buildings, improvements and maintenance. Prior years, if you go back to 22 and 23, you're talking about day-to-day fixes there. Your building is aging. So that's why that number was increased. Overall, you've got a 7.29% decrease in administration compared to what was budgeted for fiscal year 24. Any other questions about administration?
If I could just add, just for your reference, if you start looking at the fiscal year 24 year to date, keep in mind that is only 10 months.
I think one last thing before we move on to the next one, department, is we made sure this year to get a snapshot of actual prior years so that you can compare actual numbers, not budget numbers, to what's being proposed. And that helps you ground truth the number that's being proposed for fiscal year 25. So the next one on our list is Parks and Recreation, and that would be Nicole.
Thank you. So I said there's not a lot of huge differences in here. So there's really just two I want to point out, and then I'm happy to take any questions if there's anything I don't answer. So as he mentioned, we are asking for a position reclassification. Currently, we have 3 maintenance technician positions, and we are really in need to have what we're calling a crew leader. So currently, our organizational chart is park director, and then a straight line of everybody else that report directly to me. And particularly now that we have 3 maintenance technicians, it's definitely a little bit of a challenge to keep everybody on the same page when I'm not out there in the field with them every day. And we really need that position that can make those on the ground visuals of making sure the jobs are getting done in the manner that their park director set out. I need to make sure that they're following safety procedures, which I can't do while I'm sitting at my desk in my office. So I think it's really important that we get this crew leader position in here. As I mentioned, I recently have a newly vacated position, and unfortunately with this position, I have been lucky in the past, but with the recent retirements, this is the maintenance technician's a position that we are just going to have turnover in. It's just the nature of the job. And so I would bet probably once a year, I'm going to be looking at having a new maintenance technician and having that crew leader that can really take on the training and making sure the high standards that we expect in this park continue. We are proposing it's about a 9% salary increase for that position. So it's not a huge amount of money, but I think it will make a huge difference in the operation of our department, and we'll see the quality there. Does anybody have any questions on that?
No, I think that's a great idea.
It is. So it's not a new position, but we would look at reclassifying an existing employee to that position.
And then you still got 1 vacancy.
I do. I will, as of Monday, the current person is turning their notice, and their last day will be tomorrow. So then we'll have a vacancy we're looking to fill here shortly.
So Nicole, on the salaries and wages, that increase is due to?
Well, so the pay study last year, so there's increases there, and then there is that extra percentage
9%.
for that reclassification of the position.
And also the programming, there's an increase there.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, not the programmer, not salaries, that's later.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
programming, there's a $20,000 increase.
Yeah, I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, I'm sorry, you're going, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no,
jumped
so I was just asking what the salaries.
Okay.
that-
Is everybody on, track with that idea? Just by consensus? Yeah.
The other, as I said, everything else is fairly standard. The other one that might be a little eye-popping for folks is our programming budget line. So you can see we're going from a $30,000 budget in 2024 to a 50,000 in 2025. And the big reason for that is the success of our tennis program. That has really taken off this year through our spring quarter. So in the next fiscal year, we plan on offering tennis lessons, spring, summer, fall session, plus 2 summer camps. So we're expecting that we'll have $21,000 in expenses in tennis, but we will also be bringing in estimated $32,000 in revenue. So it will be offset with the
Okay.
programming fees. So that's why that number looks so large. But other than that, everything is fairly consistent, staying the same. So, but I just wanted you to know why that programming looks like such a large number, but it is offset in our revenue projections.
Okay. Any questions for Nicole? You good?
Yeah, so yeah, unless anybody has a specific question about budget or. We had, let's see, we had inflated it this year because we knew we were getting the dairy and we had a lot of unknowns in there. So we had asked for extra money last year to knowing there would be some expenses. Now we know what those are. And we feel pretty good about bringing that number back down.
Anything else?
Ready to move to the next one?
I think so.
Thank you, Nicole. So page 8 in the workbook, we have planning and zoning. So Director Malachek.
So we're a pretty simple department. The first couple increases you'll see in salaries, wages, and benefits and retirement contribution, like everyone's been saying, is mainly due to the pay study increases and some increases in salaries in the department. We've got we really tried to cut as much as we could from the budget year, knowing that in this shared manager budget process, when Daniel was still around, that we were going for the same tax rate. So one item we did cut 10,000 from other professional services. If you look back all the way to 21, this was actually 85,000 because that's when the comp plan was being done. But we've actually found with the watershed reviews, we've not been billing as much as we've needed. And with the UDO project, land use update, all of that money's in the capital, the CIP. So we felt we could eliminate 10,000 there and help kind of decrease the budget and maintain the current tax rate. There's a couple minor changes on some of the other line items, just because with 2 employees that have certifications and trainings now, we needed a couple increases there. And then the contingency line went down as well, but overall about a flat budget, minus 0.25%. Happy to take questions.
Any question for Mike?
That is basically a fund for the town actually going on someone's property and abating or removing a nuisance complaint, junk vehicles, outdoor storage at the town's cost, which then at a later date would be put back as a lien on the property. But sometimes it takes a while to recover those costs through the lien route. I've been keeping it. I think it's always been funded at this amount going back. We've not used it, but we actually have a project property for it this year. The property at the corner of Haywood and Banner Farm with the camper, and DOT demolished a building there. But we've received a complaint about that property, and because there's an absent owner, we feel that would be a good candidate for using some of these funds to clean up a corner in the town. I've been hesitant to use it before because, again, with code enforcement, we want to be sensitive to the culture here and everything. We don't want to be going on everyone's property and spending town funds removing personal property. So we've been kind of careful with it, but I think with this property in particular, we'll use some of those funds this year.
Okay. Any other questions?
Ready to move to the next department?
Yep.
Okay. Next is tax collections. That's page 9 in your workbook. And Ms. Taylor?
The first thing I'd like to point out is that prior to funding, to fiscal year 24, there are no numbers. And that was because last year was the first year that the tax department was formed and actually split out from administration. The next thing is, again, like everyone else has been saying, salaries and wages are up partially because of the pay study, but also because that includes the new position of the half-time deputy tax collector. Fringe benefits, all those would have to go up as well. And it also kicked up our travel and training because the deputy would need to go to some trainings down probably Chapel Hill. And that would help her get certified. That is really about it. If you have any questions?
These past tax collection numbers for the other years is the ones that you've collected since 2024 backing up that you know about, right?
You know, I'm not really sure with that 10, 41, 46,000.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what that number represents for the
Okay.
prior years.
okay.
Yeah, I wasn't privy to
Okay,
budgeting then.
all right.
And I can tell you that represented the cost of collection.
I see.
That is where we put the
That's-
printing and the mailing and all of
So
those
that's what that
expenses.
number represents.
That is what that
Okay.
represents. It was, yeah, it was on its own, but now there's an apartment built around it. The other thing I'd like to add is she mentioned that part-time tax collection position, and we've talked about it going full-time. Half of it will stay in the admin department and half of it will be in the tax collections department. I'm not sure we made that clear when we were
Okay.
discussing admin.
It's one full-time person, but they'd be paid, half of their salary would come from administration and half the salary would come from the tax department.
Okay.
Ms. Taylor, what's your current tax collection rate?
As of today, it's 99.14%.
91, 99.14. Wow. What we've talked a little bit about possibly just exploring the idea of outsourcing tax collections. We've studied it just a little bit on the inside. What have you guys learned? Pros and cons of possibly outsourcing tax collections. Say we're working with the county.
Well, I sat down with our finance director and we discussed a lot of different things of you know, that money coming in. Sandra, you brought up a really good question the last meeting about, you know, what kind of interest might we be
Right.
losing.
Well, and how
And-
often the county pays out.
Well, I got a draft of their agreement with the city of Hendersonville, and they pay out monthly. So whatever they collected in November, they would send in December. So they would keep it for that month. So theoretically, while our tax collections go into our general fund and our bank account and doesn't draw interest, it keeps us from drawing money out of another account that does give us interest, and somewhere around what, 5.25% we were looking at, 5.3 something.
Right now, as of today, it's at 5.36%, and it has stayed right there or above the entire year.
So I looked at the 2022 taxes month by month and how much interest we would have earned on it, and that the interest earned theoretically, if it stayed at this percentage, And if we used all the tax money to not draw off the money that does earn interest, it would give us about not quite $150,000, which is well above salaries and wages.
There might be another piece of that puzzle too. So how often do you pay the fire department?
Once a month.
Gotcha,
So we also earn 5% on the fire department.
gotcha. Okay.
And that includes that.
I think you're losing your personal, people already are ticked off that they think they're being double taxed.
Mhm.
And if they then are getting, the county's collecting our tax, we're not even collecting the tax that they think they shouldn't even be paying. I think we're gonna be some angrier citizens than usual.
Oh, I'm sure.
I think
The only
that
reason
between
it,
calling town hall and talking to the tax collector.
And suddenly we're not doing it.
Suddenly we're not doing it.
Yeah.
You gotta call the county.
And why
I
not
like to
call
think we're a lot friendly.
Howard?
I
That's
mean,
my fault.
I know some taxpayers and some non-taxpayers by name, you
Right.
know, and we look forward to seeing them come in every year and
With their excuses.
they may
I don't
not.
know. Yeah.
You
know,
gotta,
Yeah. And they're not gonna get that same personal,
they're not.
small town service in the
Yeah.
county.
Did the county give you a number to what they charge?
It's 0.5% of their.
half of
collections.
1%.
Yeah.
And I don't mind telling you, the reason this all got brought up is the fear of you leaving early. I didn't have anybody else ready. I gotta have somebody do it. I ain't bashful to tell you.
We'll figure it out.
Well, I mean, when you don't take the interest into account, it's probably fiscally more responsible, frankly. Unless you put a price on that small town customer service.
Sure.
Certainly helps with the cash flow
Yes.
and interest bearing account. Anything else, Sue, you can add based on what's been said?
Only thing I'm gonna add is that this is based on current interest rates. So when they drop, don't hold it to us. Because I have started to see them come down,
Oh, yeah.
but it's slow. And everything that I've been told is just basically expected to level off, not increase. It will come down eventually, but it's not coming fast.
And so Kristen, if she moves into that position, you're gonna teach her how to maintain the 99.9%.
No pressure, Kristen. But Harley, what is your best number ever?
Was last year, it was what, 99.37.
Okay, there's your bar.
And I'm hoping to top that this year. I don't
You
know,
really
you know,
could, yeah.
It's always a goal.
Awesome.
Any other questions for Ms. Taylor?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Kristen's already started training and stuff.
How long does it take to get that certification to where you can be legally to collect taxes in Mill
You
River?
can, it's, the certification isn't required to collect the taxes.
Okay.
But it's just a reassurance that you've been trained,
Yeah.
you know what you're doing, you understand the legalities of it. There's not, the law's pretty black and white. And if you don't know it, well, then you can get us into trouble.
Gotcha.
So certification is just a good thing to have.
Okay.
Can I take any questions from crowd?
Probably not today. Just, you can get in there personally if you want to, but you will be more than welcome during the budget. You can dig right in there. Okay. Just,
Thank you.
and I'm not saying you won't get an answer before you leave today, but let's just try to keep us moving. Yeah.
Hoping for 30 days. We're talking about 5.something% APY. So we're not doing apples to oranges math here, are we? And saying it's saving us $100,000, but that's over a year. But in all reality, all we're doing is missing out on 30 days.
We actually pulled from Capital Management Trust, where the most of our funds are invested. I pulled monthly interest rates, not just the APYs. So we are talking about
And I have that.
actual interest rates
Yeah.
on this.
Which
Yeah, she, you know.
And I believe that may be the first time since you've been on council.
Finance director.
Not only that, was she was quick to answer it too. All right, what you read for? Okay, page 10, move on.
What else you got?
Did we hit the street maintenance and street lights?
We're going down this agenda right now. I
Oh,
think, is what we're
okay.
planning.
I-
Try to, but we can go back there.
well,
if
no,
we need
that's
to.
fine. I just saw it up there.
Right.
Actually, according to the agenda, we skipped it.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's right.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Well, I've got two different papers I'm following.
I was just looking as we went.
Well, we can go back
So I'm
to it.
over here.
Looking at that agenda.
Right. Sure. All right.
It don't matter. Where we at? Where we going? Street
So
maintenance?
let's go street maintenance. That's
Okay.
page, what page is that?
9,
Nine.
top of 9.
Right on the top.
All right.
Get a breath.
What-
Kevin.
What questions do you have on that?
Oh, it says 2024 budget year was $156,000.
Mm-hmm.
The only street maintenance we do is this one, right?
That is my understanding.
That budget represents what we estimated
Yeah.
to receive
Oh,
from Powellville funds.
oh, okay.
Uh,
So
we ha-
that's
we-
income.
Yeah, we haven't really spent anything.
I was gonna say, what'd we do?
We
The
did-
only
we-
thing
we-
we've spent is streetlights.
We,
Yeah,
did- we
um,
built a guardrail one
that-
time, in 21, that's what that 28,000 was.
Yeah, if you go left from that 156,000, you'll see we didn't actually spend anything this year.
Okay,
So year to date, there's no expenditures.
okay.
Although it was budgeted, there's been no expenditures.
And that is, those are funds we hope to in the next year
Yeah,
use for the playground access grant.
yes,
That's
so
correct.
that's part
Right.
of that money will be the playground access grant, that we use Powellville money for match.
Right.
And the only other thing that typically comes out of that would be our snowplow contract, but we have not had snow. So-
Okay. And street lights, did we have any expenditure? Do they charge us when they change the light bulbs?
Spoke about this with Mike today. So really all we're doing is paying for energy, power.
I look back, what you had, the town did take on projects where lights were installed, got DOT, but all that, but right now, all on the same time, do that. Right now.
Okay.
At one point, it was a price per light, but that was a long time ago. I don't have no idea how they're doing it now.
Switch to LED.
Save.
And the last time we put in a light, yes, we paid cost per light.
Yeah,
For the
exactly.
installation.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. Anything else on that? Okay, where are we going to now?
All right, so information technology, and that is page number 10. All right, so Mr. Webb has been helping us with audio, visual, and technology since I've been here, and we really appreciate his work. And so I think he has some information he'd like to share with us about this particular account. So, Mr. Webb.
All right. So for information technology, our year-to-date activity on this piece of paper I handed y'all out before the meeting,
So we're shifting to this.
this graphic. Yeah. Our year-to-date activity through May 13th of this year is $86,864.05. Our budget last year for information technology was $102,400. The percent of the budget we've utilized up year to date is 84.83%. Our proposed budget for fiscal year 25 is $99,950. This is a $2,450 decrease from fiscal year 24 budget and a 2.39% decrease. If you look, the percent of the budget that is utilized the most from this fiscal year are contract services and maintenance contract services for software. You know, below this this chart is a little graphic that has all our line items and then our vendors for each line item. So for instance, for telephone, we have Anders Communication, Information Technology Services, Internet Access, Optimum Business. For contract services, Brynet, it's our IT management company. And software, you know, we have Adobe, you know, we use that on a daily basis. Again, Brynet for additional services and software setup. You'll see them in multiple places because they're, you know, you have maintenance services and then you also have, you know, additional services that aren't included in that. Our maintenance contracts take up most of the budget. So we have Tyler Technologies, which is our financial tax system, Civics Plus, which is a large parks and recreation reservation software for the picnic shelters, and also for our social media archive for data. Brightly Software, which is SmartGov, our online permitting system. That's roughly, I believe it's $15,000 yearly for our renewal. Our GIS software, Image Solutions for the plotter and the copier in the copier room. Brynet again for they set up our TeamViewer subscription and renewal. So, you know, if employees work from home, that's how they get into our U Drive and our system to access files. Adobe again, and then Onyx Network Corporation, which is our cloud storage for our email, domain, and associated data. So that's all I got. Thank you.
So Kevin, this year with that 99,950, what do you envision us needing other than is it just filling in all these boxes? Just maintaining what we got pretty much?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Ms. Brown, is there anything you'd like to add?
I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for getting the microphones working to where the people can hear the meetings.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
He's been a very big help. Good.
Mhm.
Appreciate his work. Any questions about any of those line items?
Like the right software, is there not how much of that's offset by the online fee to do a survey? Or is that even a thing?
That's an excellent question. I'll be honest with you, I don't know, but I'll be happy to find an answer for you.
Just curious.
Yeah.
We do charge to do it online, correct?
I doubt it.
I can try that. But if you do it, this is the only way you can pay with a credit card. So if you do pay with a credit card through SmartGov, there's the credit card processing fee. But otherwise, it's just a straight permit fee, which then is in the planning and zoning budget, you know, for,
We're not charging convenience fee to do it.
no, and to be honest, we've never done an analysis about whether the permit fees offset that. I think when I first got here, when we were implementing and building the system, it was more about the convenience to citizens, one, to be able to pay with a credit card, but also submit applications online. And then it's also an internal management system where we have reminders and can basically track permits through a workflow process that's specialized for each permit type. So everything from a conditional rezoning to a deck. And then there's a code enforcement module as well. So again, if we get a complaint about a property, there's a workflow process built into that. So it's not just public facing, there's internal efficiencies in the planning department as well.
And the fees we receive do offset some of that. I don't think it's 100%. And Shay, we do charge a convenience fee, but we are also charged
Yeah.
for
yeah,
processing.
Right.
And we're losing money
The
on that.
credit card fee we charge, we are also charged. So there's not an additional convenience fee for paying for your permit online.
No.
It's
I
the
just
same
wanted
thing
to
with the
note that-
kiosks out front, isn't it? For the kiosks out front that they have when you pay taxes or something,
Yes, there's a, convenience fee charged on that.
right?
But we pay the credit card processor. So it just offsets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's simply offsets. Kevin, you had something?
Oh, I just wanted to note, as a planning technician, I'm in SmartGov probably 80% of the day. So it's a very good program.
Sure, absolutely.
On Jeopardy. We're on Jeopardy. Trying to-
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's trying to get again.
I'll just leave mine hot, Mike.
Councilmember Davis clicked first. Would you like to answer that?
All right. So that's the information technology piece. I think probably the last thing I probably would direct your attention to would be the last page of this workbook. Ms. Brown, can I get your assistance? So your last page on page 12 is capital outlay. And so just want to kind of briefly go over those. We've got staff here that can talk about these respective areas a little bit more. So we've got $500,000 set aside for farmland preservation. And I think Director Malachek brief us on where we are with that program right now.
So as you know, we've adopted the program, council's passed the resolution, we've adopted the policy document with the scoring guidelines. I think the next step is to wait for the permanent manager to come in and figure out how to launch it, because we don't have an application yet. We haven't, there's nothing on the website currently. So again, it's a formal policy of the town and it's adopted, but we really need to launch it. And I think I wait for the new town manager to do that. But as you know, council put the seed money in for $500,000 to fund that.
Next item on our capital plan is the UDO. Director Malachek.
Yeah, it says website UDO, so I don't know if that needs to be edited, but it's the UDO, the Unified Development Ordinance, and just a general land use code update. So as you know, we've been doing many text amendments every year. But even with haphazardly fixing different sections of the code and trying to improve it, the whole thing needs to be reorganized. There's inconsistencies throughout the document. It's difficult for even developers to look through. I get calls from people all the time who are professionals who say, I don't even know how to find this. And so I think it would help our citizens if we have a document that's comprehensive, consistent, and organized, where you can, if you want to build a deck or if you want to build a home addition, what I'm envisioning is there would even be process flow charts where you can click, I want to do this project, and it'll link you to somewhere else. And the regulations will be there. And if you want to know what the application requirements are, you link you to somewhere else. So again, making it easy, but also updating the codes. So again, reflecting what the citizens and council wanted in the comprehensive plan. So that was adopted in 21. And while we've made some changes and the planning board's initiated some of those changes, a comprehensive update is long overdue. And I mean, I'm biased as the planning director, but I think this is one of the most important projects for the town, because this will set the town up for success, for growth or controlling growth, and preserving the rural character, all those comprehensive plan goals for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
I think it's really important.
How long is that process from start to finish in a town our size, do you think?
18 months.
18 months.
We've programmed it over 2 years. Right now, again, with the leadership transition, we were originally going to have kickoff in May. I've pushed that out to September now. And then the contract for services, Daniel and I, we were the review committee and looked through the responses we got to the RFP, selected a firm, and the attorney's reviewing that contract now.
Okay.
Any questions on those two items? So that's the community development capital expenditure. And then next, the rest of the capital is in Parks and Rec, and Director Sweat, you could tell us a little bit about what you've got going on.
Sure. Yeah. So the first one on there is our accessibilities grant project. So that's the ramp and additional play features that will be added to the playground. So just as a reminder to council, we did receive a $263,000 reimbursable grant for that project. So of that money, we have to expend that money during the construction phase, and then we will in turn get reimbursed through the grant process, which will be great. And then, as we previously mentioned, we can also use for part of our matches that POW bill money. So that came from federal dollars too. So that's a carryover. We're already almost through the design phase, and we'll be looking at starting to put the bid packages together to start to get shovels in the ground for that project. So we should be seeing that moving a lot quicker this summer. But that's that project. Does anyone have any questions about that project? And then our other line item for capital that we are asking for is equipment. So we are asking for a full-size truck and trailer. I don't know if you've seen our really little Ford Ranger out there. We are a maintenance department, and it is very important for us to get a full-size pickup truck with trailer to get our job done. Just as an example, if we need to go buy fertilizer, we could pay $150 to ship it from just up the road, or we can take half a pallet at a time, and typically we order 3 pallets at a time. So you can see how many trips that is for my staff. You know, after river flooding and cleanup, the amount of debris we have to remove, and having that truck and trailer is going to be huge for our efficiency in our projects. So that we're looking at a F-250 or equivalent. We've already priced some stuff out through state contract, which is where you can get some really good deals on vehicles. And then the other thing we are asking for is a backhoe attachment for our tractor. There's a lot of uses for a backhoe attachment. If any questions, but I think it'd be a really good addition that we can add to our existing tractor that would make our jobs much easier and much more efficient. So those would be the two things that I'm asking for: truck and trailer, and that backhoe attachment for the tractor.
I'm just gonna ask a question, just in case we need to put any money in for this. Does anybody actually know how to run the backhoe attachment safely?
Yes.
They do?
Yeah.
Good, okay. And they're able to cross-train others?
Yeah.
Good, awesome. Okay, just want to make sure. That's a dangerous implement if you don't know what you're doing with it.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else on this? No? Good. I think getting the truck and the trailer is a great idea. It'll even come in handy on the sanitor. What else you got for us?
So let's turn to page 11. And just, I think one of the things we probably could speak just a little bit about is the debt service for fiscal year 25. We've got an increase in that number, but that number will go down next year as you start to pay down on principal. But that basically is debt service payment on your loan for the balance of the property that was purchased. Any questions about any of these three items on page 11? And as we went over on the 9th, you can see where we're transferring $400,000 into reserves earmarked for town hall and parks. So we went through the agenda. I secured your permission to hit basically the major departments. We did cover a little bit more than what we said we would do. Are there any other questions about the budget, about where we are?
I have none. Anybody?
So if it's consensus of the board, then we're gonna shift the line items into that far right column. And now this becomes the official council proposed budget, and that's what we will use when we advertise for the public hearing.
Okay.
Do you feel like we need a second workshop?
I
There's
don't-
one tentatively scheduled for next week.
The only reason I'd say we'd have to have one is if Jeff comes in and he's got numerous questions when he gets back in town. Y'all have any need to see it again?
That other workshop is actually part of your regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay, so
So we can officially cancel that
I think so.
if we need to.
We have stuff on the 23rd.
No, not the entire meeting,
Okay.
just the workshop
Okay.
portion. Right. All right. Well, appreciate staff and all the work. Appreciate your input and
Okay.
your review. I think we're good to go, and we'll now convert the budget, which is officially your budget, shift it to the right, and we'll float that then before the public, set the stage for the public hearing.
All right,
So we have a council meeting on the 23rd
yes, we
and not the 30th?
no,
The 31st, you have a special meeting.
Okay. Okay, I'm with you.
Is there anything from staff we need to add? Everyone's good.
okay.
All
All
right,
right,
we're good to go.
I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
All right, we're out of here. Yeah, all in favor?
Yeah.
Good.